I feel like I got a pretty good topic today. Bringing out the old man in myself, I feel like. Kids do not care about Pokemon the same way that we did when we were younger. They don't. I don't think they do. And I don't think it's their fault. And I'm not trying to bash these like new age kids or try and gatekeep and I'm not saying that Pokemon's dead, because it's not. It's alive and well. It's thriving. Like look what the fuck is going on. If you say Pokemon's dead, you're a fucking idiot. But I've got kids, and I'm around kids, and I'm not shitting on the kids nowadays or hating on the kids and what they do with their free time. I'm not. But these kids definitely don't care about Pokemon, and they don't have the same relationship with Pokemon as I did when I was a kid. And to paint the picture for you, my name's Tyler. I'm 30 years old. I got 2 3/4 kids. Oh my God, fucking bright ass son. Chill. Alright, so yeah, I'm 30. I got kids. I grew up in the Midwest. And when I was a kid, or for anyone who's around the same age as me, or a little bit older, or a little bit younger even, Pokemon wasn't competing with everything the way it is nowadays. When I was younger, I had a Game Boy. I had the original Game Boy, and then I had the Game Boy Color. And then I went from the Game Boy Color to the Game Boy Advance SP whenever that came out. The laptop looking bitch. God, I wish I still had that. The Game Boy Advance SP was top tier, best handheld gaming system ever to exist. But we also had cartoons before school, cartoons after school. We had Pokemon cards at recess and at lunch and in the gym before school. We used to always sit on the bleachers in the gym before school, like if you got there before the bell rang. So people would be like, have their like trading card binders of like Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh and shit out and like trading and looking at people's cards before school. And Pokemon was slower back then. We had the Pokemon movies coming out in theaters. Trading took time because it was like you had to see your friends in person and look at their binders and shit. We didn't have Facebook Marketplace back then where you could post up your cards and, hey, who wants to fucking get scammed and send me their cards in the mail and trade back and forth. There was no information about fucking like Pokemon trading meetups and card shows and stuff. At least I don't know if they even if they existed back then. I'm sure they did for sports cards and shit, but I don't know how much Pokemon was going on at the card shows back when I was younger. Back in the 90s and early 2000s. But yeah, the information about Pokemon and Pokemon cards and stuff wasn't there. Maybe you could read about it in a magazine or like one of those gaming books. All the hype for Pokemon and the Pokemon cards and Yu-Gi-Oh cards and stuff was all spread by word of mouth and kids at school. And Pokemon felt more special back then. I mean, probably because I was younger and I was really into all of the Game Boy games and like the Pokemon games would first come out. But also because it came in waves and came like whenever I saw my friends or when I knew I was going over to my friend's house and I'd load up my binder with all my coolest shit to take my binder over to my buddy's house or get my Yu-Gi-Oh deck ready to be able to go get my ass beat by my friend's older brother. It wasn't like constant stimulation and cards going to $1,000, $2,000, $10,000. There wasn't new sets coming out every month with leaks of the sets that are coming out 4 months from now before the most recent set even comes out. Pokemon had room to breathe. Jeez, this sun is crazy, bro. I gotta put this shit down. Maybe this will help? Maybe. Maybe not. It's fucking solar flare. Yeah, Pokemon had room to breathe. And I had room to breathe and do whatever the fuck I wanted in the Pokemon hobby or in the Yu-Gi-Oh hobby. Now this shit's getting fucking force-fed down my throat. Fucking set after card after graded card after Legos after YouTube video after card show after Logan Paul after scams after knife fights after card shops getting fucking robbed at gunpoint. Like this shit is crazy. It's a fucking movie. Fucking the Pokemon hobby nowadays is fucking Grand Theft Auto.
Oh shit. Here we go again.
Pokemon Emerald City. Give me a fucking Pikachu, bitch, and I won't. Between that and the Vaporeon bros on Reddit and the Lopunny gawkers, I'm looking at you, Shug. I'm looking at you. Hey, no hating on Lola Bunny, though.
Don't ever call me doll.
I feel you on that. But with the kids today and all the stimulation going around, they got Fortnite and TikTok and YouTube Shorts and Instagram Reels. And Roblox. Not my kids. My kids are not on fucking Roblox. Get your kids off Roblox. They got instant dopamine everywhere. And Pokemon with the kids right now is competing with all that shit that it never had to compete with whenever we were younger. I don't think Pokemon is any less interesting than it was. If anything, it's more. The cards have gotten better, the games have gotten cooler, but it's the environment around Pokemon and around these kids. Everything has gotten so much louder and so much more colorful, so much more stimulating. This shiny cardboard is competing with these crazy ass PlayStation games, games on your phone, TikTok videos, social media, just infinite content, unlimited stimulation, dopamine out the ass. In my opinion, that's just a losing battle. And I imagine that this probably goes for this shit probably goes for like a majority of kids out there nowadays. Not my kids. My kids love Pokemon. But my kids live in the fucking dark ages compared to probably most kids nowadays. We got very limited screen time, no iPads. My kids would be fucking lucky to have phones before they're fucking 16. And they love Pokemon. I mean, I got Pokemon at the house nonstop, so like they can't help but love Pokemon. But that crazy stimulation isn't there, so it's easy for them to love Pokemon anyway. But all that to say, and this is where the video probably gets good, and I've talked about it before, this is why Pokemon is shifting and catering more towards adults. We got multi-$1,000 Pikachu cards, 18 plus Lego sets. We got graded cards out the ass, selling from anywhere between $50 and whatever Logan Paul's dumbass card sells for fucking $10 million. We got that commercial that came out with the Lego Pokemon of 30 and 40-year-olds feeling that nostalgia.
Charizard, Blastoise, Venusaur, Pikachu. No way.
I have a feeling a lot more like nostalgia-heavy marketing is to come, along with more like high-end collectible items. And I don't think Pokemon has abandoned or will ever abandon the kids, because like they gotta have, we have to keep the kids interested in Pokemon or the hobby dies altogether, or the hobby dies when we die. But Pokemon just following the money. They know who has the money. It's not my 5-year-old. It's his 30-year-old dad that used to rip Pokemon packs as a kid. And now he's grown and has a job, so I'll buy all the Pokemon packs they'll let me have. It's smart. It's genius, actually. The adults today we got disposable income. We got jobs with money coming in. We got the nostalgia from collecting these cards and playing the Game Boy games whenever we were little. We got patience. At least more patience than these kids nowadays, because our brains haven't been completely rotted from TikTok and Roblox since we could open our eyes. And kids don't buy sealed cases of Pokemon, but adults do. And that's what's happening with the hobby right now. That's why we're seeing card shows with vendors charging more than market prices for their slabs and singles. That's why the market price of these cards is going up fucking 10, 100, 1,000%. That's why slabs, graded cards are so prominent nowadays. And why Pokemon has this more like corporate freaking money bro feel. There's so much money in this hobby now. And that didn't just change because of scalpers and YouTubers. I mean, that's a little bit of it. But it changed because the core customer base of Pokemon aged up. We're not little kids anymore. And we can buy and sell what we want without our parents' approval. And we got Facebook Marketplace, card shows, and eBay to be able to do it a million times faster than we used to be able to do it on the playground. And I think it's fine. So this isn't meant to be like a doomsday video. I don't think like I said, I don't think Pokemon is dying. At the very least, it'll stay alive as long as we're alive. So what, another fucking 30, 40, 50 years? And I'm sure they'll never stop trying to bring the kids into the hobby. And they'll rely a lot on us parents to bring our kids into the hobby. But they're still going to be putting out the shows and making the games and making board games and apps. But the center of gravity isn't kids anymore. It's us adults that grew up loving Pokemon for the past 10, 20, 30 years. Pokemon is no longer kids first. Pokemon is now nostalgia first and kids second. And that's the truth. And I still love Pokemon. I still love ripping packs. I rip packs with my kids every release. I'm not blaming kids and I'm not blaming adults. I can't expect kids to want to want to turn off Grand Theft Auto and Fortnite and stop sports betting their life away on DraftKings to be able to play with shiny cardboard. They probably should, but I don't expect it. I just think if people understand this shift of Pokemon going for nostalgia first and kids second, the hobby and these crazy prices and the vendor markets and card shows and all this bullshit makes a lot more sense. I'm curious what you guys think. This is just what I've been feeling. I've been wondering like how important Pokemon is going to be to these kids whenever they grow up. Because it's the hobby isn't the same for these kids as it was for us. Especially if you have kids now and you grew up with Pokemon like I did, playing it on your Game Boy and trading cards at recess. What do you think? What do you think about the hobby, the nostalgia? You think kids are going to care about Pokemon 10, 20, 30 years when they get older? When they're our age? I don't know. It ain't looking too good. But like, comment, subscribe, and get your kids off fucking Roblox. Delete that shit. Bunch of nasty motherfuckers on there.